I don't know if you know this or not, but I am flawed. Like all human beings, I am a flawed
human being.
Flawed individual. Flawed. 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 I have my shortcomings, but sometimes you have to learn to let go of the desire to be flawless. For example, I have always had a hard time knowing how to spell or even pronounce the word Armageddon. Armageddon. But instead of being upset by this, I say, so what? It's not like it's the end of the world. When I was told that someone had stolen all the lamps in my office, I said, so what? I'm delighted. When I was told there was a kidnapping at school, I said, so what? She'll eventually wake up. Now, I apologize for the dad jokes, but I wanted to get this question that children often ask, so what? Today's sermon is about asking the question, so what? In the past year, I have been giving sermons based on principles I learned and developed while I was in seminary, searching for my answers about my place in the world. And this is the ending of that sequence, the series finale, the one that brings it all together. It is the sermon that seeks to answer the question, and I invite you to join with me, so what? Now, I know I'm showing my age.
Sorry.
My sidekick over here. I remember when the TV series MASH was going to air its final episode. Now, I could say the same thing about any series closer, The Sopranos, or the Game of Thrones, or the World Series, or the Super Bowl, or any special day you've been waiting a long time to come. All have greatly anticipated endings, as do many things in life. For days or months or years, we wait for this resolution, an ending to a long succession of events. We anticipate that ending with nervousness or excitement because we believe that something wonderful, something amazing is going to happen. The series MASH, the show about doctors in a mobile army surgical hospital unit during the Korean War, ran for 11 years. Even today, it remains one of the longest-running TV shows in television history. It lasted 6 years longer than the actual Korean War. The series finale was one of the most anticipated shows of its time. It would last for 2.5 hours and be watched by 125 million people. Now, my friends and I planned a party for the finale, and for weeks it was the focus of every discussion. So I was shocked when my friend Charles asked him if he was going to watch the finale, and he said no. Now, Charles was not unlike the Charles of the TV show. He was from a well-to-do family. He was very intelligent and quite condescending at times. When I told him about the watch party we were planning, he simply and glibly replied, "So what?" Yeah. So what is the question we use when we want to comprehend the significance of something? So what is shorthand for questions like, so what does this mean for me, for my life, for the people I know, or the society I live in? Or even the question, why should I care? The final episode of MASH was no value to Charles because he didn't watch the show, so he didn't care about the outcome. Over the past year, I've been sharing my ideas of spirituality I developed while I was attending in seminary. As a UU minister, it is not my intent to convince you that my spiritual understanding should be yours, or that mine is more correct than any other. On the contrary, I simply want to explain to you my foundational beliefs so that you know what motivates my words and my actions. If by chance anything I share with you may be helpful, then so much the better. Although I have introduced quite a few ideas over the past year, I want to distill them into 3 basic principles. The first is that all beings have value. All people, all plants, all animals, all of the earth, and all of the world we know and beyond has meaning and value. We may judge the actions of individuals as foolish, or even, or dare I say, sinful, but the individual is still an equal part of the fabric of all beings. As we have witnessed in the news lately, trying to make oneself greater by making others lesser is nothing more than a self-serving delusion. My second principle is that all things are connected. Everything is in relation to everything else in the universe. Everything, all the time. The appearance of separation is an illusion and a consequence of seeing things in binary terms. Rarely is something ever strictly this or that, or one thing exclusive of the other. Our universe is constructed through connected polarities, spirals, and fractals. Everything evolves from simplicity toward complexity in ways that encourage even more growth. Which leads me to my third principle. Principle 3 is that the universe is in a constant state of creative evolution. Everything, every day, every person, including all of you, is a brand new creation never known or experienced before. Each one is a creative expression of an endlessly changing universe. Creation happens everywhere and all the time, so that the universe and every single thing within it are always in the process of becoming something else, something novel, something wonderful. What may appear to be a constant is simply evolving at a less perceptible rate. Nothing ever remains the same. That, to me, means the universe is one organic and dynamic entity that moves and lives and breathes, not unlike us. That force of constant creativity and expression and vitality is what I sometimes call the spirit of life. But even after all this talk, all this theological meandering, all this philosophical postulating, each of you at some point will probably throw their hands in the air and say, "So what?" What does this mean for us? Psychologists tell us that the day-to-day actions we take are based primarily on 2 things they call intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. When people tell us that we must or should do something, or when we follow specific laws, customs, or cultural expectations devised by others, when we are motivated by fear or punishment, or the promise of material gain, or the need for praise and acceptance, we are motivated by extrinsic influences. But when we are driven by intrinsic motivations, we do things because we enjoy them, or we define ourselves through them, or because we believe that what we are doing is the right thing to do. Intrinsic motivation comes from our values, and when our actions are aligned with our values, we are more likely to experience purpose, meaning, and even joy in our lives. When we do not live through our values, however, what we experience is called cognitive dissonance. We may feel our lives are disoriented, spurious, without merit, or inconsequential. The choice then becomes whether or not we base our lives on positive, life-affirming values or negative, life-denying values. A life based on positive, life-enriching, intrinsic values feels more authentic, more fulfilling, and more in harmony with the rest of the world. We can only develop those kinds of positive intrinsic values when we develop our understanding of our place in the world, when we expand our understanding beyond our individual needs, and when we comprehend the true nature of existence. These kinds of values, I believe, are best developed through spirituality. But even now, you might be wondering, so what? Here then is the answer to the question. Why do I spend so much time on the value of all beings or the interconnection of all beings? Why do I speak so much about the endless creative evolution of the universe? Because I believe these are the spiritual foundations for understanding and engaging this beautiful and meaningful universe in which we find ourselves, as well as the spiritual foundation for determining how we will live in it. I also believe that the foundation of a just, peaceful, and thriving world comes from those kinds of positive spiritual values. If you believe there is nothing of value in this life, then you may come to feel that you have no worth, or that others have been given special value. Worse yet, you may come to see others as having less significance than you or your clan, and that you may be justified in causing harm to those others. But if you believe that all beings have value for no reason other than because they exist as part of the complete fabric of life, then you may come to appreciate the value of all life. If you believe that all things are separate and isolated, then you may feel isolated yourself. You might feel lonely. Consequently, you might seek to help only yourself. But if you see the world as part of one living, breathing web of existence, you may come to see yourself as an equally valuable strand of that cosmic network. If you believe that the universe is inert, random, and lifeless, then you may come to feel empty inside yourself. You may find no direction in life, or even a need to seek one. You may come to see the universe as one large, empty clock that just runs on idle inertia. And you may come to live your life the same way. You may see the world as devoid of beauty, and you might come to treat yourself and others with that same cold indifference. But, didn't wake up George on that one, but, there we go. If you see the world as a living, evolving, and creative wonder, then you might seek to find your own unique expression in this life. You might seek beauty and reverence as you go. You might appreciate the unique and fascinating differences of all things, and you might encourage the growth of yourself as well as all beings. What we believe matters. It is the foundation of how we come to understand ourselves and our world. It is the basis for all the actions we take in our lives. It is the cornerstone for building social justice, equal rights, and the beloved community. It is the basis upon which we build our lives and the world in which we live. So when you ask, so what? I say a positive spirituality might just make the difference between a heaven here on earth and you know what I mean. In the name of that which you hold in your heart to be most sacred, may it be so.